Hello, how's everyone doing today? Today we are going to be talking about Cin7 Core and QuickBooks Online, and specifically the sync issues that can happen between the two. Let's jump into everything. So, as you can see, whenever we log in here to our QuickBooks page, we have a little section right here that's saying we are synced up to QuickBooks and telling us which QuickBooks we are synced to. Now, we here can see our errors that we have from our last sync. We can also go here and view our sync history. The sync history will show us any successful things that have synced. We can tell by this completed here. We go to we can see all of our sync history. Now, another place that I like to go whenever I'm first setting up a sync, or if I'm experiencing sync errors, is to our integrations tab over here. And then after that, I like to go into our QuickBooks integration. Just to review everything, make sure everything is set up exactly how we want to. Maybe whenever we initially set up the integration, there were some things that we put off because we hadn't decided what to do, and maybe now they're causing us some issues. But the first thing that we have here is just a little page telling us how the integration works. This is really good as an overview if you have not already looked at it. You can also go in and check out the Cin7 Core Academy and help articles related to the QuickBooks integration. They're very helpful for understanding a lot of this. Now, next thing we have here is just a general setting. This is just making sure that we are authorized and connected to our QuickBooks file. And then our settings here, these would be some things that we could go through and check to make sure there's nothing that stands out. Whenever I look at this, for this file, there's nothing that stands out that tells me I need to fix this. The next thing we have here is our sync options. So our sync status will say sync failed because again, we have all these failures right here. Now, if there are no failures here and we still are seeing sync failed, we might want to take a deeper look at it on the QuickBooks side, make sure there's nothing that's broken that over there. Now, we could have here our auto sync and then our consolidated transactions. This would be something if we decide to set these up, we could have them there. Then down here, we can see where our different sales channels and how they are syncing into QuickBooks. Lastly, we have our advanced settings. So this would be if we realize that our cost of goods are out of sync. If there's some error that's happening, we could fix we could fix our cost of goods in QuickBooks. If stock on hand is in QuickBooks and not in Cin7, we can use this to sync it over there, and then we can go in and import opening balances if we're having issues. Really, these advanced settings should only be used if there is a not easily fixed by our sync. All right. So now that we've done all that, we can go. Now we've viewed everything here. Everything looks good to me. I'm going to save. I always like to save. Just make sure everything is there. And we're going to go in here to our into a QuickBooks link. We're going to hit the Sync Now button. What this is going to do now, it's going to open up a new page for us that will then show us that we are syncing right now. So this little yellow bar here is showing us that we are syncing. And we'll just sit here and wait for this to be done. Now, one thing to keep in mind whenever you're doing a sync is there are certain things that Cin7 allows, Books does not. So, for instance, Cin7 will allow you to have a customer be a supplier and a customer. QuickBooks will not because they're stored in the same area. So there's little things like that that we have to pay attention to, have to make sure that we are aligning with. So any limitations that occur in QuickBooks due to data will still occur with the sync in Cin7 Core. It doesn't magically go away because how these are set up. So now we can see all of our sync issues and errors that have occurred. We can see here that our accounts were able to be imported, tax rules were imported, and then payment terms and products were imported. We can also see here now we have some failed supplier exports, failed customer exports, and the failed product exports. Now, these product ones, we can see right here, it tells us these products already exist inside of QuickBooks, right? So what we can do, what I always like to do is I have to go in and look at both systems, right? Look inside of QuickBooks look inside Cin7. Right? Usually with these, it's something that maybe somebody made it active again inside QuickBooks as an inventory part, and now Cin7 is trying to create it as a service item as it does. Could be a simple fix as that. Would say just go through, check your QuickBooks list. Usually a lot of these are found by those duplications in there. Now, we can also see here, right? This right here doesn't have a unique reference number. So this is saying that there's not a unique identifier on this invoice. So maybe it's a duplicate invoice. We need to check inside Cin7, see if there's an extra there. Then we have right here too our credit notes, right? So these two credit notes, they aren't syncing over because the transaction amount is $0. You can't, it's not allowing you to record a $0 credit note inside of QuickBooks via this sync. So therefore we need to go in and fix those. What is really nice about these getting these sync errors is we can see they're all hyperlinked. So we can go exactly to the spot in our database where they're stored and we can fix it. So let's just take one here so we can show you how that works. So right here, this top one, failed to export supplier from Cin7 Core to QuickBooks. Another customer, vendor, or employee is already using this name, right? And remember, that's because QuickBooks only allows you to not have duplicates between lists where Cin7 does. So what we can do to easily fix this, we'll click right here. And then we're going to put on here to say this is a supplier. And we'll say S for supplier. Right? So now that's in here. We can say save. All right, and then we can go back over here to our QuickBooks Sync tab. Now we're going to sync again. We should see that one go away. So yeah, so one of the great things about, like I said, is it gives you all those. It pretty much tells you exactly what the errors are, how to fix them. You will need access to both your QuickBooks and your Cin7 to review everything. And doing these manual syncs really nice because you can see those errors. Now the errors, if you click off of that page, you can't go back and see that error screen. So I always like to screenshot it at minimum, just so I can know exactly everything that's going on there. It really helps out with troubleshooting. Um, Now I will say there are certain errors that, well, depending on what you're doing, that will occur. So if you are unaware, QuickBooks has an internal ID that it uses in the background to store everything. So even though your name might say Joe's Tackle Shop, QuickBooks has a number that assigns to the back of that, and that is how it syncs between the two. So if somehow the number in the back gets changed, Cin7 will think it's an entirely new entry. This really is only a concern. I've only ever seen it happen whenever you're doing mass updates inside of QuickBooks only and trying to sync them. So, for instance, like a chart of accounts, maybe tax rules, payment terms, things that are only editable inside of QuickBooks. If you do a mass update of those, sometimes it can cause the ID to change, which then causes an issue inside of QuickBooks. So my advice for something like that, if you can, do it in small forms. If not, go through, make sure your QuickBooks ID is not changing for those entries. All right. So now moving back to our sync here, wrapping everything up, we can see now that from our sync, we do not have any suppliers that are left to fix. We still have customers' products, but now we know exactly what these sync errors are. We can go through and easily fix these in the system. Now, if this is something that you are struggling with, Cin7 Core QuickBooks Sync, feel free to book a free consultation with us. The link will be in the description. I really hope this video was helpful for you in your QuickBooks and Cin7 needs. Thoughts again, QuickBooks has limitations that are separate from Cin7, which can cause your sync errors. So make sure that the data you're putting in to Cin7 is going to be compliant with QuickBooks protocols. I know we're putting out new videos constantly on different ERP systems, and I really hope this is helpful for you. Thank you for your time. This has been Sam with Certum Solutions.